Hello viewers, this is your SSK and today we have an interesting story from Chandamama and the name of the story is A Devil Can Be Human. Vijay Sen was the ruler of Vijaypuri. He did not have any interest in administration. This was taken advantage of by his officials who thrived on bribes. People suffered from their maladministration, but they were unable to do anything. They went about meekly offering whatever was asked for to get their things done. A young man, Pushparaj, got himself educated with great difficulty. He also learned the use of weapons. He was keen to get a job in the administration setter, but to secure a job, he had first to meet the king, and to get an audience with the king, a huge amount was demanded as bribe. He could How could he spare that much money? He wondered. He felt desperate, so that feeling gave way to hatred towards the king and hatred towards his officials. Pushparaj thought that a life in the jungle was far better than one in town. He caught hold of a bow and a quiver of arrows and went away to the forest where he hunted animals and ate the fruits and leaves that were aplenty there. Years passed by without laying aside his bow and arrows except when he slept. He made himself comfortable on tree tops. One day Vijay Sen fell ill. He seemed to have contracted some incurable diseases. Several physicians were called him. They examined him and gave him medicines, but to no avail. There was no improvement in his condition. In fact, it was worsened day by day. At last, a physician from the neighboring kingdom was called in. He took a good look at the king and said, "There's only one remedy, and it in the paste made from the leaves of the creeper called Amritavalli. But then it is very difficult to obtain the leaves because the creeper grows only in forest. Who will go and get it?" The king's son Vamasen turned to the physician. "Please tell me how the leaves will look like and where exactly the creeper grows. I shall myself go and get it. After all, it's the question of saving the king's life and one has to take all risk involved." The physician Kamalanand was comparatively young and was therefore drawn towards the prince. He admired the sense of determination he showed and the confidence he exuded. He gave him the details of the creeper and said it grew only in the forest below the Parbatgiri mountain ranges. Those forests were notorious for their inaccessibility, and so nobody would venture to go there even for hunting. However, Vamasena started for the Parbatgiri forest. He could not go much deep inside as he was afraid of wild animals that roamed the place and also of poisonous snakes that forests abounded in. However, he did not go back to the place. He heard of Pushparaj leaving home and living in the forest, so he asked the tribal living at one edge of the forest to search for Pushparaj and bring him to him. They failed to locate him. The prince then sent his soldier to trace him. They managed to find him and told him that he was being sought by the prince. Pushparaj was still nurturing a hatred for the king with whom he could not get an audience. Still, he decided to go and meet Prince Vamasena, thought he knew the young prince could at times be very cruel. "Pushparaj, you must have heard about my father's illness," said the prince, posing as a friend. "The physician wants the leaves of rare creeper Amritavalli that grows only in the Prabhatgiri hills. I'm sure you're familiar with the place. I want your help in locating the creeper and plucking some leaves. I shall give you enough money for your trouble." "Don't talk of money now, prince," said Pushparaj. "My first mission will be help another human being. Let that mission be over. We shall talk about money later. Come on, let's start." Both of them mounted horses. Pushparaj led the way, while Prince Vamasen followed him close behind. Pushparaj very cleverly cleared the pathway before advancing, so the prince had no cause for fear, though he did see several animals running away and snakes slithering away on hearing the shouts and sounds made by Pushparaj. 2 days and 2 nights passed. They were still far away from the eastern side of the forest where the physician had said the creeper grew. Pushpara suggested that they left the horses and proceed on foot because the plant was rather short and could not be spotted from a height. As they progressed, they came nearer a cave inhabited by a Rakshasa called Raktapriya. His ancestors once ruled over the forest. He had a claim on animals in the forest and would not allow any hunting by outsiders. Raktapriya, however, did not care for the animals, so he allowed hunters inside the forest only to kill them instead of animals they hunted and drink their blood. So much so, no hunter even went back alive, and people surmised that they would have been killed and eaten by wild animals. Raktapriya happened to see the prince and Pushparaj roaming the place and searching for something. He gave out a wide smile. Today he would have a feast of human flesh and blood. He let out a wild cry and ran towards the two men. The prince's legs gave way when he saw the Rakshasa. What shall we do, Pushparaj? He whispered to his companion. He is sure to kill us. The next moment the prince fainted, but Pushparaj held him tight. "O prince," he said with disdain, "you cut cruelty and your father misrule are well known, and the officials greed. The people are suffering and they are all dissatisfied with your father's rule. I have heard about this Rakshasa. We have no alternative except to defend ourselves with the weapons we carry. Take out your sword." On hearing this, Vamasena managed to straighten himself and stand erect. Pushparaj strung his bow. Raktapriya slowly approached them. He caught hold of one of them by one hand and other by the other and said in glee, "Ha ha ha, what a great day! But how can I swallow two persons on the same day?" Pushparaj made good use of the breather. "O king, O Rakshasas," he addressed Raktapriya, "I find that you have certain principles and you won't swallow two men at a time. Good. Now, if you were to know what had brought us here, you might even change your mind. You have heard of Vijayasem, the king of this land? He suffered from a serious illness and he can be cured only by the leaves of Amritavalli that grows here. We have come here to pick some leaves. Here, he is the Prince Vamasen, the king's son. Let us pluck the leaves and you may please allow him to go. I shall remain here and you may swallow me, so that you won't have to break your habit of swallowing more than one human being." Raktapriya set them on the ground. "Amritavalli grows on the other side of my cave. I shall myself get them for you, but I have a doubt. The leaves are for saving the life of king. So isn't it proper that the prince sacrificed his life for the sake of his father? Is it fair on his part to leave you here and saving his own life? After all, you are only one of the king's subjects." "O Rakshasa, you have opened my eyes," said Prince Vamasen. "You have become my guru. My father, the king, has neglected his rule. People have been suffering because of the misrule in the land, and people also complain that I am cruel. So there's no point in my saving my own life. I shall not allow my harm to come to the subject of this kingdom. I had sought his help to come here, and I shall not sacrifice him. Let him go back to the palace with the leaves. You may please swallow me whenever you wish to." The Rakshasa laughed loudly and heartily. "I shall not swallow either of you," he said, smiling. "You haven't come here to hunt animals. I love animals and I hate those who come to kill them. It's such people whom I make my victims. You both may go back safe." He then helped the two to pick the leaves of Amritavalli and even escorted them till they mounted their horses and turned towards the city. After the king was cured of his diseases, he began taking an interest in his administration.